what happens when these refugees can't get a toehold in the economy, don't speak English, can't get a job? Well, in Toronto, it seems they're put up in a $1 million a month makeshift refugee center. And joining us now is a reporter who has toured that center, our good friend Sue-Ann Levy from the Toronto Sun. Sue-Ann, it's such a great thing to see you again. Welcome.
Nice to see you.
Well, I follow your stories about homelessness, some of the troubles in Toronto, and refugees, and you write about things that every reporter knows, but many are afraid to say. It's tough covering refugees, homelessness, and things like that without being called names, isn't it?
Oh, I've been called every name in the book, racist and bigot, the most recent ones, particularly when I cover refugees. And the other thing that people don't know, and your audience should know, is that the people at City Hall and the shelter providers have thrown me out, have gone out of their way not to answer my questions, to avoid my questions, and to not give me information. In fact, going so far as to offer tours and selective stories or advanced stories to other media to try and get back at me for covering this sort of stuff.
Well, I recently saw that you visited a shelter, and this is just for foreign refugees, am I right?
Right.
It's not for Canadian homeless.
Mostly from Nigeria.
And what's so strange is it's in a former office building, and we'll show some images of it here. You brought a cameraman in, and it seemed like they were showing you around. They wanted to show this place off. It looks very much almost like a museum, like everything is so... tell us a little bit about this former office that is now being used as $1 million a month refugee center. Tell me a little bit about it.
So it's the former North York Hydro building. It was bought by some condo developers about a year ago for $122 million. The city, I first discovered that the potential for it to be used back in February of this year when I saw a small line item in the 2019 budget that said $3 million contingency had been set aside for 5800 Yonge Street. To house refugees. They actually said that in the budget. So my mind flipped and I went and looked at the address, saw that it was the building. Well, the building sat vacant for the entire year. I did find out that they were looking at it as a contingency space. It sat vacant until I heard rumors a couple of weeks ago that they were actually going to activate it and make it into a shelter for 200 people.
Well, that's what's so strange is, I mean, we sent our own David Menzies, and I know you covered it too. There's a Radisson Hotel in eastern Toronto, and the whole hotel is full of refugees, which, I mean, that's not really a good way to keep people on a long-term basis. A hotel, there's no room to stretch your legs. It's not meant for kids. It's meant, you know, you're in town to do business, you're there for a few days, but at least a hotel is meant for people to sleep there. The idea of putting people in
an office building
is so weird. It's not a sensible use of the place. It's not built for it.
It's huge too. There's a lot of space, and I mean, there's a lot of light, so that's a good thing. But you know, the interesting thing is that these are not the refugees that are in the hotels. At first, I thought that they were going to be offloaded from the hotel system. Well, no, forget about that. These are single refugees, male and female, more female than male, that have been in the shelter system, that have occupied 40% of the space in the shelter system.
So these were people who were in the homeless shelters.
Yes.
They've been taken out of the homeless shelters and put here.
Yes.
I didn't know that I thought that Trudeau had said we weren't taking single refugees. I guess he was referring to Syria. So these are single guys, and you say they're from Nigeria?
Mostly Nigeria.
I didn't know there were refugees from Nigeria.
Well, mostly Nigeria. I think they're asylum seekers, most of them. So there's 120 women going into this shelter and 80 men. So,
I mean, Nigeria, I mean, I wouldn't choose to live there, but it's one of the world's most populous countries. If we're saying that Nigeria is now a source of refugees, first of all, that's strange to me. And second of all, there's far more people in Nigeria than Canada. This is very unusual, it seems. But the crazy thing about this, and I can't get over it, is, and you can see this in your video, it really is an office. It's not like they've just cleared out some, I mean, it seems so inefficient. And what I can't believe is, and you did the reporting here, they're spending, you know, $45,000 a month just for heat and light.
Yeah.
The total bill, I can't even believe this, $1 million a month.
That's an excerpt from the Ezra Levant Show, which is a show I do every day. I do a monologue, interview an interesting guest, and then I read my hate mail. But you've got to subscribe to it, which you can do at premium.rebelnews.com.